Hi, this is Richie Havens, and you're listening to Artisan News. Years on the grades.
No.
For those of us who are, okay, it's okay. It really is okay. And for those of us on the bottom rung of the positive ladder, just fine. It's okay. The okays will take care of it. And the grades, if we can find them, will take care of that. And of course, the fantastics of party, party, party. That's what's going on now. I'm so glad to be here. This is
Grace of the Sun.
Yeah.
Is this an album for you where everything went well and smooth in the studio, or are there certain obstacles?
It's very acoustic. I still record analog, and so it's the dynamics is it works for the dynamics and the music because we all play together. Don't do a heck of a lot of overdubbing, if any, that kind of thing. I try not to.
I know there's a cover of Bob Dylan, Watchtower, actually on.
Oh, yes.
What goes into deciding what cover song actually to record?
That's a good question. In this one, it was fairly different from the past because I had actually recorded live Watchtower years and years and years ago, and I sing it on stage quite a bit, and people always ask for it. So the record that it's on is not released. It's off the market many years ago. So I decided to sing it again because I had about 20 people ask me in 1 week, is there a recording of that? Yeah, but you can't get it right now, So yeah, I did it for those who asked, in that sense. And the same with Woodstock. I've listened to that song for so long, and it's never hit me to sing it because I thought it was done, Crosby, Stills and Nash sang it, and Joni sings it, and you know what the story is about, because that's the way I look at songs anyway. They're pieces of comment and history, concern, all of those things wrapped into one. And basically, if it's real and it's there, it lasts forever. And I know those two are going to last forever. But I walked into the studio. I had my list. It wasn't on the list, believe me. I had my list of songs and what I was going to do. And I came to the studio 3 days in a row with Crosby, Stills and Nash singing it in my head. So I said, why am I hearing this song in my head for 3 days? So I said, that must mean it's time that I sing this song because it's part of me, and I'm part of it in that sense. And it's a beautiful song. I've always wanted to sing it on stage, but I never even got to do that. So it was a joy to get to say, hey, Walter, come on, bring your guitar in here. Get the bass player, get the drummer. Let's do this song,
Absolutely.
And that's the way it happened.
Let me briefly touch on Woodstock before we go back to Grace of the Sun. Did you know when they approached you, to kick off the festival, did you know what a monumental event it would be, not only for your career, but just for the music industry?
I did. I had. It was going to be a monumental event for me because it was going to be a snapshot of us above ground, no longer relegated to underground by the press, that we have grown, that we've come above ground now. You can't hide us anymore. And that's what my feeling was. I knew it was going to be big, and that big to those guys was 60,000 people. But when I got there, it was 520,000 people, with the newspaper saying, 200,000 New Yorkers. No. They came from everywhere, even outside of this country. From England, I met some Dutch guys there. I met pretty much a lot of French guys too, and girls. But it was really everybody. You know, it looks like the college movie when you go to see the movie, but I would say 25% of the people who were there were over 50, and about another 20% were under 14, and the rest was there in the middle. The whole middle was there. So I figured this is the first American People's Festival. That's what I felt. That this is important because of everything that's happening around us with Vietnam and all the rest of it. That we had some platform so that we could actually say what we feel about all of those things around us. So that to me was what I expected a feeling of, and it was way over what I could have imagined, you know.
Speaking of, writing about war and protests and songs like that, why do you feel like not too many bands this day and age write about that kind of stuff? And this and now is like the perfect time for that.
I think that a lot of them are, actually. Yeah, I do. I mean, you have, what's his name, with Crosby and Stills? Graham, not Graham. Neil Young, really, and there are a few people who have actually done that kind of approach, that are saying what they feel. I think it's more and more as I go along. I hear a lot of opening acts that are local that I play with, coming up with some songs. They're really writing now, and these guys are young guys, you know, college age, 18, 19, you know, and I do hear it. I'm on the road every weekend all year round for the last 29 years. I've seen the change, you know. The change has happened, and the real change is already here. They just happen to be under 4 feet tall, but they are here, and our future is really, really in a great place. We don't know it yet, because you're not going to see it on the news as a political story, you know, of the children, the politics of children. But I've had my best conversations with guys under 4 feet tall, to tell you the truth.
What about the song Grace of the Sun? What was the inspiration for that?
Grace of the Sun is a recognition of the fact that the sun in and of itself may be the only battery going on here. You know, I mean, lighting up this whole thing and allowing it to exist. To me, that's the real truth in the sky, you know. If it doesn't come up one day, well, we're already gone, you know. So that's how powerful the sun is to me. I write a lot of songs, or I sing a lot of songs with the sun in it. I never really noticed that until this record, actually. But I think I got a deal with the sun. Yeah, sun takes care of me, and I'll take care of it. You know.
Takes care of us all.
Yes, it does, and it's a kind of a reckoning with that fact.
I know when you started your label, Story Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that gives you a different perspective as being a label executive, and from obviously the artist and the musician that you are as well as?
Well, you know, I was fortunate enough to actually get a label in 1970. I mean, Stormy Forest started in 1970 under MGM. And I made, I would say, 7 albums on it of my own, and I produced 3 other people on that label. And it wasn't until 77 when MGM sold itself that we
Coming to this show?
Okay. Cut. Okay. Action. All right. You come to realize, you know, that if you have your own tools, you do your best work, you know, in that sense. And so I recorded myself many times, and I would say the longest one ever took was about 25 days. Mixed Bag was actually done in 4 days, and it was because there were no set bands that could play with me the music that I was singing at the time, because it came from every genre. There were no set rock bands couldn't play behind me, jazz bands couldn't do it, because you couldn't crunch those different feelings, different cadences and all of that into one band. So that's why the album was also called Mixed Bag. was because it was coming from everywhere. But how it happened was Albert Grossman's partner was given the task to record me after Albert couldn't try out all the different types of bands that didn't work. He said, Richie, there's no way that you can get a rock band to sort of play all of these songs. You know, they have different moods. He says, so I'm going to get musicians in here, and we'll just sit down and see what happens. He got 2 guitar players, one jazzy, one with a nylon string. He got Paul Harris on piano, and he had a drummer. I can't think of his name right now. That was Liza Minnelli's mother's music, what do they call, music director. He was the drummer, and he played on it. And what he did was he said, okay, show him the songs. So I sang the song. Then they would noodle a little bit here and there, and I sang it again. They said, okay, let's try something. Well, let's try it again. Well, the second time we tried it, they recorded it. So all of the songs went down like that in 2 days. And there were 2 days taken out because those 2 songs had strings on them, or it was 4 days with 2 days of just jamming it out, like finding the roots and feelings, and then just playing it together, all of us playing together. Then there were 2 songs that had strings written for them, and they took a day apiece because of the strings, and it was amazing. See, I thought that was the way it always happened, 4 or 5 days, you know, and it turned out, boy, I watched all these people, $100,000 for what, you know? They take years to make an album, and I go, that was a good one. Well, wait a second. Okay. I'm composed. I couldn't figure out why so much money was actually spent on recording, because if you got the band and you rehearse the songs and you get to know them together, you go into the studio and you perform the song. It's not like you go in to create the song. A lot of people go in and create in the studio. It costs money. I feel if you learn the song and you know it and you have all of the backup working with you and feeling it too, you go in, you sit down in all the rooms they could find for all of you, or the same room, and you play together. And that's how Mixed Bag was done. That's how my first 6 albums were done.
What about Grace of the Sun?
Grace of the Sun. Grace of the Sun took 9 days. No kidding.
And was it actually, did you spend some time with the musicians getting to learn?
Oh, before we went in, we actually, learned the songs, and to be able to be performed, actually. And I think that's the performance is in the studio.
And also, I know you brought in some musicians, basically from other parts of the world, I believe India, Turkey, Argentina, I believe as well.
Yeah.
Do you feel it gave it maybe some world flavors?
Yeah, it does. It does, because those songs I thought needed that atmosphere. Whatever atmospheres the song portrayed is the atmosphere that I try to capture. There's one song with a Japanese flute. There's one song with a kanun, which is like a zither instrument from Turkey, and a Turkish violinist. And it's world because it is culture. And if you can get those cultures to come together musically, there's no doubt we could come together sanely, as human beings, and sharing, That's what I love about the WOMAD Festival. 45, 50 countries come together and play music together. It's the most incredible thing I've ever been at. Incredible. Like everyone were masters of what they did, and it's because it was their cultural music, was what they grew up on. So I grew up listening to a lot of radio. Oddly enough, my grandmother listened to Yiddish music in the morning, followed by gospel music, followed by make-believe ballroom time. So, I heard all kinds of music there, and I grew up with that open fascination, for cultural music.
I was actually in a recent interview with Damian Marley talking about
Mhm.
what his father, one of the major things that he taught him was the power of music and how it could bring people together, like we
Mhm.
were talking about the Woodstock Festival. But what have you seen the power of music and how important that is in the world?
It's never been more important because we've already elevated ourselves above ground. Nothing can stop it anymore, except someone buying all the radio channels, maybe. But and I don't think that even works. I think all the young guys out there that have something to say are really saying it, and I think it grows on people. I mean, I met a lot of 14, 15-year-olds that are singing about the world they're living in, and the war and everything else. And so I know that the story is in good hands. It's in young people who are DNA'd enough to understand what their parents went through, and then some of their parents telling them what they went through, to understand that they have the same abilities and more tools now to step out and do their own thing as well.
A couple more questions and I'll get out of the way.
No problem.
Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. Your guitar technique style is unique to itself, especially, we can talk later as well, so I'm kind of infatuated with the way how you get your thumb and some of those chords. I was wondering, is this something that you just came across?
Yeah, I did. There were 6 songs in Greenwich Village that changed my life. And I wanted to sing them because I wanted to actually go back to Brooklyn and sing them for my friends who were never going to hear them because they never left Brooklyn. And I used to sit in the audience and sing along with these guys who wrote the songs. And Freddie Neal, wonderful performer, writer, came up to me one day and he says, "Richie, you've been singing my songs from the audience for about 8 months now. Take this guitar home, please, and learn how to play them yourself." So I took the guitar, didn't know how to tune it. That's why I tuned it to a chord. And it turned out to be a D chord, D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. And I learned the 3 chords that you could sing 7 million folk songs with. And I went right on stage 3 days later. No kidding. And I didn't get off for 7 years.
Still haven't done that.
Yeah, it was incredible time. And I never think about it. Playing to me is the foundation of being able to sing the song. And I'm a frustrated drummer, so I could be my whole band at once, to hold my voice up, because that's really why I played the guitar. I would love to be a picker, but I'm not, And if every time I put my hands on a real guitar and tuned correctly, I have such big fingers. I hit 2 strings at a time, so I can't get into that either. So I sort of tuned it to a chord. I learned those songs, and little by little, I learned how to create a minor with my hand rather than tuning it to a minor to sing a minor song, which was very odd because I couldn't get back to the major. And people thought, I used to watch audiences go, they're listening to the song, they recognize it, then all of a sudden they go, "Where did that come from?" And that was where the major should have been, and the minor was there instead. But and I sang it that way because it was the song that was more important. So I sang it as a minor song. But I learned what I was doing was turning down 1 string, the F sharp. And so a half a fret or 1 fret down. So I'm usually barring with my thumb this way, and I just play all the strings. But I barred 2 strings on the bottom, 3 on the top, and 1 fret lower, I held down the 3rd string. And that was my minor, anywhere on the neck. Just like the major, anywhere on the neck. And it really changed my whole life, because I could sing more complicated songs that I liked and get through it.
So for tonight's performance, are you going to run through a lot of the songs on Grace of the Sun?
There's going to be some Grace of the Sun and some Wishing Well, which is the one before that, which I think, had I thought about it, or even inkling, they would have been a double album, to tell you the truth.
So it's basically the songwriting left off exactly where
Yeah.
you were with each one.
Yeah, and I wrote some songs on Wishing Well, and they kept coming after I had finished recording Wishing Well. So that's the reason I kept my songs, that were coming out of me at the time, and I moved toward recording them. I think I wrote about 6 of them, and I moved toward recording. And once I started, the rest fell into place, with the covers in that sense.
And is there any songs that you kept writing after Grace of the Sun? After you
Well,
recorded that, like now?
Oh yes, there are a few actually, 3 actually.
Possible plans?
Oh yeah, they will be on the next album, which I'm working on now.
It's on your after that
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
Any thoughts on any of one of the first 3 songs? Have you taken any of those songs to the stage yet?
Yes, I have actually. I've been singing them for maybe 6 months,
How's
actually.
the crowd response to some of the new ones that are yet to be recorded?
I'm pretty blessed, I guess. I don't know what it is, but everybody always. I'll put it this way. I haven't had one single bad day on stage, not one. And it's because I'm singing to people that I know already. I feel I know everybody already, and because we're here and we're here together, and we're supposed to be working on getting that correctly tended. And that's what we were here for in the first place to me. I grew up in Brooklyn. All of my friends came from all over the world, and firstborns in America, and we never had a problem. My mother screamed at them as their mother screamed at me. We were messing around or something. So it was a large extended family of culture. And I learned by having all of these kind of friends that really nothing's different at home. They get yelled at like everybody else, and so for me, that'll always be a part of my music, in the sense that culture will play into it. I know one cover song already that I am going to do, and it's called I didn't forget.
Hey there.
Sorry.
Last question, I'll get out of your way. What was the one cover you were thinking about?
I'll put it this way. I have several songs that I've written for the next album, and one cover that I already have in mind is called Another Day, and it came from a soundtrack of a film called Veronica Gruyene. Veronica Gruyene. It was about a woman who it was a film. So it was about a woman who single-handedly cleaned up the drug problem in Ireland and gave her life up to do it. She was totally persistent as a newspaper person, and lost her life in the process, but actually shut down everything on that island. And the song was sung in the end of the movie, and I found myself like sobbing my eyes out, like because of the beauty of the passion and the content of the song was so perfect an ending, best I've ever seen and heard. And so I've been singing it a little bit here and there. Gonna record it though.
Are you going for that one tonight, possibly?
Possibly.
You change your set list every time, everything?
I only know the first and last song I'm gonna sing. That's it. Yeah.
It's kind of
Freddie Neal told me that too. He said, listen, you only need to know 2 things: how to get on and how to get the hell off. That's it. Get on the stage, get off the stage. That's it. So I took his advice without really thinking about it or knowing it. But I sing what comes to me. After the first song, people applaud. It suggests what the next song is going to be. And it's interesting to be in some places where after their applause, I ended up singing 5 Bob Dylan songs in a row, and I'd go, "Where am I?" Was that necessary, really? And it's wonderful. I mean, because even the people who play with me never knew all of these years. They never knew what I was going to play next, But we've known and worked on the songs before we went out there, without too much time really, because the people I get to play with really have the instrument themselves, really make the instrument work for themselves. So it's actually a collaboration of music in that sense. So I have a cello player and another guitar player, and that's what we'll be playing.
The last question, I want to briefly touch on Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Renowned for doing fantastic covers of some of his songs. He, not only to me, but obviously a lot of people,
Yeah.
one of America's greatest songwriters.
Yeah, he is. He is. Absolutely.
What does he mean to you as far as an inspiration of your life and your recordings and your music?
He was you know, interestingly enough, the very things that he denied being, he was. But he didn't want to be it for the New York Times. He wanted to be it by just being allowed to go up on stage and sing his songs and not have anybody put any titles on him or anything like that. The fact of the matter is, I found him to be the poet who got to sing his poetry. That's the way I look at him. I don't look at them as songs. I look at them as poetry being sung. And the fact that the way he plays guitar and strums, he doesn't use the same strum for every song. You know, he has the atmosphere that it feels right for each song. And very difficult. I mean, I just did a part of the new Bob Dylan movie being made right now, actually. I sang Tombstone Blues I think it's the credits. And then I played a very small part in the film. And it's called I'm Not Here. And it's being made now in Canada and England and the United States. No, in a way it is, because it's supposed to be a documentary of his life as portrayed by 6 separate people in the film, including Kate Blanchett playing Dylan, which is really far out. It's really far out. It's wonderful how the guy wrote the story. For instance, in the beginning, it's back in the, I think, early 50s, you know, or late 40s. And it's a kid on the road with a guitar, and he calls himself Woody Guthrie, but he's singing Bob Dylan songs. And that's a switch, you know, and it's a very interesting switch, you know, because he talks about what Woody was, but he's singing Bob Dylan songs as for the real message coming through in that sense. And I played the father of a family, grandfather of a family that sort of found him on the side of the road and brought him home because they thought he was dangerous to be out there by himself. And he's just a talkative. He's just one of these kids that, you know, keep talking about what he does and being on the road and what he thinks, and it's a real wonderful approach. And then there's Richard Gere, Kate Blanchett, and a few more really good people playing in it. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a Fellini movie. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.